The Final Destination from 2009 got a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. But what do I think about it? Hey, what's up, y'all? Back again with another banger. And today we are going to be having a movie review, or on this channel we call it a pickle review. And today it's over the dreaded The Final Destination, or Final Destination 4 from 2009. Now, I have been doing this franchise and reviewing every movie. I have movie 1, 2, and 3 out on my channel now, so you can go check those out if you haven't already. But we are reviewing the whole entire franchise and then doing some rankings and tier lists at the end. So go check out those videos if you haven't already. And before we get into this, there will be some spoilers. And this movie's pretty old, 16 years old to be exact. And if you haven't seen it, this time actually don't watch it. Save yourself that time, that effort, and heartbreak. So just stay here. I'll take care of it for you. No surprise here. This movie has a pretty dope premise, the same as the others in the franchise. We have our lead, Nick, who is at a NASCAR race with his friends when disaster occurs and cars start flipping. Everybody dies. Cars ride up and tires fly into the audience. And, people die, but he's able to have that premonition and then get his friends out and a few other people out of the race before disaster occurs, and they're able to defeat death momentarily until death, of course, comes back for them one by one. And this film is a fan unfavorite. It is highly regarded as the worst in the franchise, as a garbage movie. It has the worst ratings, and rightly so. If I have to be honest, it's pretty bad. And as you guys know, I try to be positive here on my reviews. I try to have positive things to say, but I'm not going to lie, for this movie, there aren't many things that are positive. So get ready, because I'm going to be getting naked and I'm going to be taking a piss all over this thing. First off, a pretty lame premonition. I mean, usually this franchise is able to play off our fears and play off things that we are scared of. But for me and for most people, I don't think this is a common fear to be at a NASCAR race and they have safety guidelines up, they have fences up. This really just isn't a common fear. And especially for me, they usually have things that actually scare people, planes, roller coasters, etc. And this one just really doesn't do it for me, because me personally, I've never been to a NASCAR race, and I honestly don't even know the first steps into going to a NASCAR race. So yeah, the premonition just isn't as strong here. And they made this movie for 3D for some reason. And if you're anything like me, I didn't watch this movie in the theaters. I watched it at home on my TV. So you can imagine how that played out. And it just really wasn't a good idea. And it didn't work very well in the end, as you all know if you've seen the movie. Yeah, just 3D movies don't work out too well on a flat screen with no 3D glasses, no screen made for 3D. So it's really just tragic. With it being 3D, the kills were designed for things to poke through people and shoot at the screen, and for people to be squished and their guts to shoot at the screen, and then all that type of stuff that's just made for 3D kills. And it's never worked in the past, and it sure as hell didn't work in this film either, since they tried so hard finding kills that satisfied their 3D itch. Certain kills that you have to use. You have to find ways to have kills that will satisfy 3D and be able to point at the screen. And as you can imagine, that hindered their ability to think creatively, to have new creative and sick kills, and to up the last movie. So they were really hindered to just a small pool of possible kills that they could use. So types of kills were used over and over again, and they just weren't creative at all and weren't sick like the rest of the movies. So the 3D was just never a good idea, especially for a Final Destination franchise where the kills are the franchise. I mean, come on. This is not the 80s. We aren't fascinated by 3D. 3D isn't new. And yeah, this movie was made in 2009. That still, in the grand scheme of things, at that time, we were already used to 3D. Stop doing 3D. It sucks. It's not good. Go away. Stop. Let's forget about 3D. And this movie is labeled as The Final Destination, which makes us think this might be the last movie in the franchise. until you see that they didn't piece together any missing information from the franchise and didn't wrap this up in any sort of way that could have concluded this franchise. So since they forgot to do that, they had to make more movies after this, as we know. And, that was probably just to get more money, but that's just something worth being mentioned. And they actually strayed so far away from answering any questions or really going into any lore of the Final Destination franchise that it kind of feels like a different movie, other than, the Rube Goldberg type of kills that they go for. They still have that, but it's just, they stray away to where it feels like this might even be part of a different franchise or separate from the franchise. And I know in my last video I said that Final Destination 3 kind of felt a little different, but that was just slightly. This one, or this piece of garbage, takes the cake for being different. And this movie, just like the third one, does not have Tony Todd, which is kind of why it also feels different like the third one, with the lore having to be explored in different ways. But they didn't explore the lore in any way at all. Like the third at least took a different route, since they didn't have Tony Todd to have exposition dumps on us. They took old tragedy pictures like the Towers and Abraham Lincoln and Flight 180, and that was a way to explore the lore and also the pictures that they took. But in this movie, it's just kills. And the worst part is the kills are ruined by CGI. And I honestly wish that objects would have actually came through the screen and killed me so I didn't have to watch the rest of this movie. Also, on top of the 3D ruining the kills, we have the stoppage of the use of practical kills, and CGI kills are what they use here. And they were CGI in Final Destination 3, like I said in my last review, but it was good CGI and it managed to work. Not as good as practical kills, but a little better than bad CGI. But this movie, man, oh man, the CGI is terrible. It's cheap. It is no good at all. The CGI, and especially times the 3D, when you multiply those together, it just comes for the worst looking kills, where, like I said, we just have stuff splashing and it's a lot of people getting cut in half and just fake blood, fake guts going everywhere. And it's just all around tragic, and it doesn't work at all. This cast also doesn't work for me, and it might not even be the actors. It might just be the poor writing or whatever it is, but they are just written as just such boring people, and it's just hard to care for them. They have no charm. It's hard to root for them. We don't care if they die or if they live, and most of them are also written as dickheads, like the pervy jock guy and the racist dude in his truck. And how do these people die? Well, the pervy jock guy gets some ass and then dies from his ass. Literally, he gets his guts sucked out of his ass. Like, this movie was made for middle schoolers. It takes that comedic route once again, but it's not funny. It is comedy for middle schoolers, and honestly, I don't even think the middle schoolers are laughing at this either. We then have a racist guy who drops the hard R in this movie, so he's written to be hated. And then he goes to put a cross in the black character's lawn, and then his truck pulls him off, and he dies just by his truck pulling him and him being on fire, and, just stuff flying at the camera and flying at the black dude while he was on his lawn. And those things it's just such a lame kill. When you're writing characters that you want us to hate, they have to have better kills to satisfy us, because we're waiting for them to die. But instead, you have somebody we hate who simply gets some ass, honestly. So he died in a good way. He just got some ass, and then he dies by getting something sucked out of his ass. It's supposed to be funny, but I mean, this guy's supposed to be hated. And then we got a racist guy who just gets lit on fire and just has a lame kill. Like, they have to be better than that since we hate them so much. And like I said, they did continue that Rube Goldberg effect type style of kill where small things add up to a big death. And that is still done here. But like, even in the Premonition, it's done well. There's a screwdriver or a tool that gets stuck in the car, and then everything else builds up to a big tragedy. And even later at the car wash, there's some pretty good scenes in there with that Rube Goldberg effect that we've been doing this whole entire franchise. But they're ruined by poor kills. And even the car wash, it ends with just tension. There is no kill in that scene. But in the Premonition, they're all ruined in all of their CGI and 3D glory that it just ruins the whole entire scene, in all honesty. The mom in the barbershop has a lame kill. The horny guy has a lame kill. The racist guy has a lame kill. But I have to give my worst kill award to the mechanic who gets shot by like a propane tank or whatever it was, and it shoots him against the fence, and he gets mushed up against the fence, and his gore, his blood from his back and his muscles, they get splattered at the screen in 3D by getting smushed up against the fence, and it's just, come on, that's so lame. It's just a little bit of guts, and it's bad guts, it's bad blood. It's just a poor kill, in all honesty, because it's not even realistic. They're not even playing on a fear. This is just something that is not possible, so it doesn't even play on that Final Destination fear that we have of, you know, the log truck, the plane, everything that happens in the really every movie leading up to this. But the kills are just absolutely taking a back seat in this movie because of the 3D and CGI. I do enjoy the escalator scene at the mall when the girl kind of gets ground up into like ground beef, you're grounding up some beef. That's kind of what it looked like. And even though it did look bad because of the CGI, it still was a better scene, but it was also in a premonition, so it didn't even really happen. But I think it was a good concept because people are scared of escalators. I know people who boycott them and they'll only take the stairs. So I can at least like that idea of a kill. And like I said, they once again have that comedic tone like all the other movies except for the first film. And it just doesn't work. It's not funny. Like nothing that they go for really sticks. And I'm not even really going to go into that too much because the movie was cooked from the start when they decided to do bad CGI and 3D in the same film. So, I mean, we'll just push that to the side. This movie also has a second premonition at probably about towards the third act of the movie when they're in the movie theater and at the mall and there's an explosion that comes from the movie screen and then disaster ensues in the mall. And that to me was just didn't work because I have never feared an explosion in a movie coming in real life through the screen because that's just downright logical. So once again, the magic of the premonitions and the kills, of the fears being something that we are afraid of and something that could actually happen to us and something that we might think twice about next time we come across that in real life, that magic is just ripped away by bad and stupidity and just downright goofy moments that don't even make any sense. And also, these characters and these kills, they kind of just feel cartoonish, which also takes away from the kills and also just takes away from the movie at all. The best way to describe this is it kind of feels like a parody. It just feels different from a Final Destination franchise movie. It feels like someone parodied it. And they're just like, I don't like Final Destination, so I'm just going to make fun of it. That's kind of what this feels like. And it just doesn't work, obviously. And not only that, but the ending adds another goofy cherry on top with them surviving the second premonition and not even thinking twice that death might be coming after them. They're just sitting at the cafe, at the coffee shop like, oh yeah, life is cool. Like, yeah, people just died and death got bored, not coming after us anymore. And then all of a sudden the truck comes and hits them and then they turn into skeletons and through that goofy animation and it fades to the credits. And it's just like, at least the movie's finally over. Overall, this movie was an absolute dumpster fire. And it is the only thing holding this franchise back as it's a pretty consistent franchise other than this silly piece of art. I give it a 1.5 out of 5 pickles, and I would not stick my pickle in it, even on my worst day. Let me know what y'all think about this movie down in the comments below, and let me know what you rank it. Is there anyone who actually likes this movie? Please let me know. I'm curious to see, and if you do, I'm very sorry for pooping all over this thing. Please drop a like and hit that subscribe button, or you will have to watch this movie on repeat for the next year. Thank y'all so much for watching. And have a blessed day. Peace.